Hi, folks. Welcome to the Daily Drive-By for November 22nd. I know this is the Daily Drive-By here at CommonSenseConversation.com, and I didn't do one last week. I didn't do one any day last week. Sorry about that. This is one of probably only 3 that'll be done this week. Last week I don't have an excuse. This week it's Thanksgiving. So I'm probably going to crank 3 out this week. So hope you enjoy it today. Today I'm going to do another one of my Handicapping the GOP presidential race broadcasts, and today we're going to get into somebody who I'm actually going to enjoy talking about, and that's Ron Paul. I only think there's 3 people running for the Republican nomination this year that actually have any principles. And Ron Paul's one of them. The only 3 people that I consider to have principles in this race are Herman Cain. He has principles and he's electable. Ron Paul, who has principles, and I think he's on the edge of being electable. He's been coming on strong lately, and I think he actually does have a chance. John Huntsman's a principled man, too. I don't agree with everything he says, every policy position he has, but I do believe he has principles. I believe he's an honest person. Unfortunately, unless there is some kind of extremely dramatic change over the next weeks and months, I don't think Mr. Huntsman is electable, which is a crying shame. He's a prime example of what we need in politics in this country and don't have. But anyway, today we're going to talk about Ron Paul. Now, Ron Paul, while he's a member of the Republican Party, he can best be described, obviously, as a libertarian, which modern-day Republicans will tell you that a libertarian is not a Republican. I would make the claim that modern-day Republicans are not Republicans, but libertarians are. If you go by Republican being someone who is for constitutional government, small, unobtrusive government, a government that believes it's a government of the people, that they are the people's boss, that they are not the people's bosses, that the people are their bosses. Now, that is truly a Republican. It's not today's Republicans. It's not the party hack Republicans like Rick Santorum. And I started to say Newt Gingrich, but Newt Gingrich isn't a Republican even by today's standards. Newt Gingrich isn't for the Republican Party. He's not for the people. Newt is not for a damn soul except for Newt Gingrich, and we'll get to him in another broadcast. But anyway, let's talk about Ron Paul. Ron Paul has some positions that just drive Republicans nuts, and on first blush don't seem to make a whole lot of sense, and most of us would disagree with until you look at details. Let me give you an example. Ron Paul has stated that he wouldn't be working hard to keep Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Now, I personally don't want to see Iran with a nuclear weapon. But not wanting to see him with a nuclear weapon and thinking that we have the legal and moral right to tell them that they can't are 2 entirely different things. You see, Ron Paul recognizes, and I recognize, a fact that is an uncomfortable fact, but it's a fact just the same. Iran is a sovereign nation. Iran can set its own rules. They can't come over here and enforce their rules on us, but they can set their own rules. If they want to have a nuclear weapon, the United States or the rest of the world has no legal right to tell a sovereign nation what they can and cannot do when it comes to what they claim to be a defensive weapon. Can you imagine Iran? Or let me pick another country. Let's go with China. China, who's a military competitor of ours. Just how high would the Rick Santorums of this world, who just went all freaky when Ron Paul said that in a debate that Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon if they wanted one. What do you think Rick Santorum would say if China told us, United States, you can't have nuclear weapons? Rick Santorum would tell him in a heartbeat, hey, you run China, we'll run the United States. Same thing here. We have no right, we have no legal authority to tell Iran they can't have a nuclear weapon. And in the case of not the rest of the world, but in the case of the United States, we have no moral authority to tell them they can't have a nuclear weapon. There is only one country on the face of this earth that has ever used a nuclear weapon in anger against another country. Hold on just a second. There's only one country on the face of this earth that's ever used a nuclear weapon against another country and killed a bunch of people. That's the United States when we bombed Japan twice. So, of all people on the face of the earth, we have no right to tell somebody what they can and cannot do regarding nuclear weapons. Now, if we had a strong president, I can tell you a way to deal with Iran, even if they have a nuclear weapon, that would keep the United States safe from it, and would keep our allies, like Israel, safe from it. Could pick up the phone and do what I personally believe, Ronald Reagan did when he was elected and before he was inaugurated. We had 44 hostages being held in Iran by the Ayatollah Khomeini. And all of Jimmy Carter's efforts couldn't get them loose. I truly believe that before he was inaugurated, Ronald Reagan picked up the phone, made a phone call to the Ayatollah. And I think the phone call went something like this. Mr. Ayatollah, my name's Ronald Reagan, and I was elected president a couple months ago, and I'm fixing to be inaugurated tomorrow. Now, no, hush, Ayatollah. I'm talking. This is not a discussion. This is me telling you how things are. When I go to bed tomorrow night after I'm inaugurated, when I go to bed tomorrow night and shut my eyes, go to sleep, one of two things will have happened. Either 44 American citizens will be off Iranian soil and on soil where they are safe, with every little hair on their head unharmed, or I'm going to send every B-52 we've got. I'm going to launch every nuclear warhead we've got, and Iran's going to cease to exist. Now, y'all are real brave in your terrorist shit. You put suicide vests on other people and send them out to bomb buses in Israel and around the world. But I don't see you doing a damn thing but sitting on your ass running off the mouth. Well, guess what? It's going to get real for you. If those citizens are not safe, you are going to feel the full, unrestrained might of the United States military right down on your ass personally. Iran's going to cease to exist. Thermonuclear weapon creates a tremendous amount of heat. Tremendous amount of heat melts sand and causes it to become glass. And Iran is going to be one big ass mirror tomorrow morning if those people aren't safe. Now, I really think that phone call took place. And I think if we had a president with some spine or some balls and the rest of the world believed him, if he would make the same call and say, Mr. Ahmadinejad, or Mr. I'm a nut job, or I'm a whack job, or whatever his name is, let me tell you how it is. You can build you a nuclear weapon. We don't have any right to tell you you can't. But we got some really good satellites. They can read a license plate from way up there in space. That's how good they are. And just as soon as we see anything happening that indicates a launch, when we see blast doors on a silo opening up, when we see one of your little turbaned asshole friends crawling up under that rocket to light the fuse, we're launching on you. We're launching everything we've got on you. We're not launching it on the Middle Eastern area. We're not launching it on some city way away from you. We got your personal address, and we got a couple of nukes with your name on the nose cone. and they're coming your way. When you launch a nuclear weapon, we will destroy you. If you launch it at us, we will destroy you. If you launch it at Israel, we will destroy you. Oh, and if you want to sell a nuclear weapon to some terrorist that wants to come set it off in New York or Washington or Los Angeles, or take it to Tel Aviv and set it off, if we have even just the tiniest, itty-bittiest little thought that that might be coming from you, that you had anything to do with it, we're going to launch on you then too. So, Mr. I'm a nut job, you just go build your little nuclear weapon, sit there and look at it, polish it up every day, put a wax job on it just like I used to do on my old 57 Chevy. Use it, and you're a dead son of a bitch. Now see, I think that's kind of the way Ron Paul is talking when he says they can have one. They legally can. But God help them if they ever use it. Some other positions of Ron Paul. Wants to audit the Fed. I think that's one of the best ideas to come out of any politician's mouth in forever. By the way, that's the only thing I hold against Ron Paul. He's a politician. He's been there before. I'd kind of like to see a new face. But Mr. Paul wants to audit the Fed. Good deal. He wants to get rid of federal departments that are unconstitutional, and I don't think he'll have the same problem Rick Perry had. I don't think he'd have any problem naming the departments that he wanted to get rid of. We can start with Department of Education, Department of Interior, Department of Energy. The federal government, do you realize, does very little that is constitutional. Read the damn Constitution. It says very specifically what the federal government can do. And it doesn't say much about a lot of the stuff that they're doing these days. So, with Ron Paul, you've got somebody that's principled. You got somebody that's got some whacked out ideas if you look at them from a modern day Republican standpoint, but that are truly constitutionally conservative, that are truly small r Republican. There's not many people in this race that are that way. There's not many people in this race that believe in the Constitution. You look at Michelle Bachmann. She'll use the Constitution like toilet paper just as much as Obama does. She'll do it toward modern day Republican values instead of progressive values, but modern day Republican values are not constitutional. There are very few people running this time that believe in the Constitution. Ron Paul's one of them. Now, I didn't start a timer like I usually do, and I have a feeling I've gone over my 5 minutes, but that's what I think. Y'all click right below this video. See where it says comment on the Daily Drive-By? Jump on over there and let me know what you think. So until next time, y'all have a good day. And remember, anytime you see an elected official, I don't care if you're talking about policies or if you're talking about the weather, if you bump into him in a diner having lunch, every time you see an elected official, you remind him of one thing. We don't work for you. You work for us. Oh, and the other thing, y'all come back now. You hear?